Today's episode of Inside Gaming Daily is brought to you by Skillshare. If you go to skl.sh/roosterteeth, you can get a 2-month free trial.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Inside Gaming.
Oh, it's Tactical Thursday.
The rebooted Modern Warfare isn't out until next month, but there's already a lot of drama swirling around.
No.
I know, surprise.
It's supposed to be the least dramatic thing. A bunch of hard dudes reloading guns and putting sights on things. Yeah, people are mad about a PlayStation exclusivity deal, and there's a rumor that the game could be pay to win!
Yeah, slow down. Apparently, Modern Warfare will commit the cardinal sin and include guns in loot boxes.
I mean, that's actually pretty crappy. If it ends up being true, people are mad at Call of Duty again. Who knew? Every year it happens, it must be another year.
Who is the battered victim in this situation, you or I? If you allow it to happen at some point, you need to just leave. Pack your bags, get on the motorcycle, go.
So to be fair, the black eye is a little stronger this year. People have much more of a right to be mad this time. Let's start with the exclusivity deal because that one is hyper confirmed and pretty crappy. Brian, what is the deal with this?
Yeah, people are very annoyed that the game is making an entire mode exclusive to the PlayStation. Now, this was unveiled at the PlayStation State of Play event earlier this week, where it was announced that the game's Special Ops Survival Mode will be exclusive to PlayStation for a whole year.
That's straight from first party. That's official. This isn't like the loot box thing. We'll get to that in a minute, but
That was in the trailer and everything.
So I guess the question is, what is Special Ops Survival Mode? Well, it's a cooperative multiplayer mode where players team up to fight waves of enemies. It kind of sounds like it might be similar to old school Zombies mode. Modern Warfare is also known for having its own Spec Ops slice there.
The Spec Ops itself, at least if it's like the previous games, was just a really challenging chunk of a level with different enemy placements. You could do a co-op. So that was kind of neat because you actually had to be really like, you got your comms in
You
the
have to be
area.
tactical.
So yeah, it's not clear if this mode will have its own maps, but if it does, that's pretty significant. That's a pretty good chunk of game that no one else is gonna get.
Of course, yeah, and it gets worse too. Yeah, previously Activision has said that most post-launch gameplay content, including new multiplayer maps, new multiplayer modes, special ops missions, and more will release simultaneously across all platforms. Oops.
Yeah, I guess we know what that hot little most
Yeah.
implies. And just by saying most content will be the same, it's pretty much a self-negating phrase. Why even say it out loud if it's not all of it? So Brian, some Infinity Ward people are out there trying to talk people off ledges, right?
Yeah, people are mad online as they get, and one Infinity Ward employee tried to tamp down some of the backlash, responding to people on Twitter. Specifically, we're talking about narrative director Taylor Kurosaki, who said that the survival mode is just a sliver of special ops, and he added that 100% of the player base gets spec ops, and everything else in the game day one. Survival mode is the only thing in the game with a timed advantage to Sony, so kind of trying to minimize what Sony is getting here.
That's just weird. It's like, guys, don't worry. It's just the one mode. And everyone's like, yes, we know. That's
He also indicated that the decision was made by people above him, tweeting to another fan, "We have tried our best to have an open dialogue with our players from day one. We understand letting that trust down. These are complicated decisions that are above our pay grade. Please know we want what's best for all our players."
That sucks. It sucks to be the face of something that decisions were made about it, and then you're expected to answer for those decisions that you weren't invited to and had no insight into.
Yeah, the dude who made $20 million this year made that call, not me.
Absolutely. And then they get to just go back to their yacht or whatever. Obviously, nobody likes exclusives. It's tough. But in the case of a Call of Duty game, a year-long deal could have a big impact.
Given that there's a new Call of Duty game every year, some fans worry that Activision and Infinity Ward might pull support for Modern Warfare after that exclusivity period ends.
Might?
I mean,
I think it's guaranteed.
it might come out, but by that time you're gonna be playing Black Ops 5
Yeah.
or Advanced Warfare 10 or Warfighter. Was that a thing?
Go. Yes.
It's all a big mush.
They named the game Warfighter. What are you? I'm a warfighter. I go to wars and I fight them.
I'm a gun killer guy.
I'm a gun shooter. There's a good reason to feel that way, that this game doesn't have a long lifespan out the gate. Black Ops 4 released in October of last year, and now less than a year later, developer Treyarch has released the final operation for the game titled Dark Divide, which sounds like a really cool rock song from 1998. Anyway, sorry.
I mean, that's Black Ops in a nutshell. Anyway, Dan Bunting, co-studio head at Treyarch, was quoted as saying, quote, "For our final operation of the Black Ops season, the team at Treyarch had a blast creating the ultimate battle between good and evil. Imagine through alternate universe versions of our specialist characters as heroes and villains."
This is a quote about Call of Duty. It's a big change from a Treyarch blog post from last year where the dev said it was, quote, "committed to supporting the Black Ops community for the long haul." Long haul in this case apparently means 11 months.
I like the word most. When it's ambiguous, it can mean whatever you want it
mean
to.
anything. Now that we know that this is how it works, whenever you see any quote that has wiggle room in it, you know that that means that some shit's going down. They just don't know what it is yet.
They should just put a year after these games, like Call of Duty 19, Call of Duty 20, like the Madden games, and you know they're just going to throw them away at the end of the year.
I was really excited for Call of Duty 2019, but here we are.
Here we are.
Sad.
Treyarch is reportedly working on a new Black Ops game for 2020, Black Ops 5, Black Ops V, whatever.
No. Line.
Yeah.
Line.
As much as they might want to support the game and really turn it into a 10-year thing, Activision's like, nope, you got to give us another $60 products, and you have less time than ever to do it.
And what's interesting about that is a year ahead of the normal cycle,
yeah.
but Treyarch was reportedly tapped to make a new Black Ops on short notice after there were some issues between the studios Sledgehammer and Raven.
2 developers just slap fighting in a conference room, and now you have 1 less year to make a full goddamn video game.
That would actually explain why support for Black Ops 4 was pulled a little sooner than maybe they had expected.
So could something similar happen with Modern Warfare? Yes. Would Treyarch also possibly stop updating the game after less than a year?
Yes.
Also yes.
It's hard to say at this point,
Yes.
but the situation with Black Ops shows that really anything is possible.
Oh, that sounds inspirational, a little bit, that's right. So that's that one bit of drama. Now let's talk about the other, and fair warning, this is still definitely in rumor territory.
Yeah, the allegation is that the game is showing some signs of being pay to win, right, Brian?
Yeah, we got another loot box controversy, and again, hasn't been confirmed yet, but a well-known leaker has claimed that the supply drops, which are Call of Duty's version of loot boxes, won't just contain cosmetics in Modern Warfare. They'll have weapons in there too.
This comes from a leaker called The Gaming Revolution, a YouTuber who has been right about Modern Warfare details in the past, like the fact that it's going to have a 2v2 gunfight mode.
Recently, the leaker went on a Twitter rant saying, who wants 300 plus emotes and supply drops? Who wants 500 plus titles? Who wants over 200 sprays and supply drops?
If you read it,
I guess.
if you say it in like an Oprah voice, it's more fun.
Yeah, you're throwing them out. You get a title.
Yes.
Skins for days.
Hit me with all your boxes.
They added, and this is the kill streak, the bomb drop. Weapons are coming too. Forget any cosmetic, only malarkey. The Gaming Revolution then seemed to hint that this was a decision by the higher ups. This is such a disservice to the developers who have worked so hard on the game. Not everyone wants all of this. Yeah. Sounds like it.
Like we said, this is a rumor. There's been no official confirmation, but this, if true, would be a really big deal.
Yeah, why is that, Brian? It breaks a vow of trust, right?
There is a little crossing the Rubicon, I think, when you add weapons into loot boxes. Gamers have shown that they'll put up with some amount of microtransactions in full-price games if they're cosmetics. That's become pretty commonplace in games like Overwatch and Destiny 2, but if you start throwing weapons and loot boxes in a multiplayer game, obviously that means that the more you buy, the more powerful your character becomes. That's when a lot of people start to tap out.
I mean, the implication is that every gun in Call of Duty is balanced to some degree.
Well, then also you're able to unlock them at the same pace as everyone else, so it's an even playing field.
Yeah, I think what nobody wants is to feel like somebody killed them just because they dropped $50 on loot boxes. In the early days of every Call of Duty game, there's always like tier lists and people swearing off certain guns and saying that these guns are OP. Even if it's true or not, mathematically these guns can be 100% balanced, but if the player base thinks that this particular gun is the best, then it's just gonna encourage people to dump money into loot boxes so they can get that gun early and then lose excuses for when they die over and over.
And that was one of the biggest gripes that players had with Battlefront 2.
Yeah.
When that was released a few years ago, Backlash was intense and quickly became poster child for overly monetized full-price games. It even won a Guinness Book of World Records as being the most downvoted comment in all of Reddit history. Congratulations on that.
Not to mention that, you know, games like FIFA and NBA 2K20 have literal visible gambling in it. It's a literal slot machine, it's a literal pachinko machine.
People never really liked them, especially in full-price games, arguing that they're an example of publishers getting too greedy. And while some governments around the world are taking a closer look at loot boxes, it seems like publishers just cannot break their addiction to all that sweet, sweet loot box cash.
But in a game with multiplayer elements like Modern Warfare, putting weapons in loot boxes runs the risk of sparking a big backlash even before the game releases.
And of course, wouldn't you know it, there's already a lot of complaining on the Modern Warfare subreddit with players calling it greedy and blaming publisher Activision for the whole mess.
Yeah, it's not a good look, right, Brian? Especially in this window, PR people have got to be just like white knuckling at their keyboards right now.
Yeah, this is when you would be ramping up your marketing and starting to push out more trailers, so you don't want people complaining about it and downvoting it to oblivion. To be fair, remember this is all based on one dude's angry Twitter rant, but it also doesn't seem that out of character for Activision either.
If you look at Activision's release slate for the past year, it's pretty bone dry. Just a ton of re-releases and Sekiro. So how many times can you buy Spyro? Clearly not enough for Activision. Anyway, like we said, Modern Warfare is coming out October 25th on the PS4, Xbox One, and PC.
Mad read?
Please sponsor us after all that.
Get it now. Exclusive content on PS4.
That's not how that works at all, let me tell you. Obviously, you can't afford all this negative press right now because the franchise as a whole isn't doing so great these days, which might be why Activision's trying to push the flesh a little bit.
Yeah, as a fun little reminder, if we take a look at sales numbers for the franchise, it's clear that its best days were back in 2010 and 2015.
Oh, remember those days well. The high watermark for the series was Modern Warfare 3. Sold more than 30 million copies in 2011, followed closely by the first Black Ops in 2010.
And while the series still sells millions of copies, recent games just have not done quite as well.
Call of Duty World War II sold less than 20 million in 2017. Last year's Black Ops 4 sold 14.3 million, and 2016's Infinite Warfare sold 13.6 million.
And yes, that is still a lot of gun shoot mans, but these are big budget AAA games that cost a lot to develop and a lot to market.
Yeah, which is probably why they're getting monetized so hard too.
I mean, look, back in the good old days, Modern Warfare 2 cost $200 million to make and market, and this was back 10 years ago in 2009.
Before money had any meaning. Did we have iPhones back then? So long ago.
It was like an iPhone 4 that was garbage. Here's a baby bumper for your baby phone, you dumb baby, Steve Jobs said as he got cancer.
Yeah. Anyway, there's no telling how much the latest Modern Warfare is costing Activision, but if Modern Warfare gets a pay-to-win reputation out of the gate, that's a really bad sign. Or maybe Call of Duty is mass market enough that there's a critical group of people who will just play it and not care. Maybe it's crossed that FIFA divide where it's just normal people that don't watch YouTube videos of two white dudes getting mad about video games.
It is the franchise that does straddle the line between
Technically 3.
the sports enthusiasts and the hardcore gamers. It could be completely immune to all of this, and you know what? We'll just be reporting on that in a month.
Why don't you let us know what do you think? Sorry, back to 2010 a
You
little
gonna
bit.
read all those?
Yeah,
Okay.
yes, I read all the comments. No, I'm
man.
actually curious. Granted, if you're watching YouTube enthusiast media about video games, you're probably a little more under the surface than most people, but if you're also just somebody who works in 96 and you don't give a and you just want to shoot some people and eat a burger, that's interesting too. Let us know in the comments, because comments determine how popular YouTube videos are nowadays.
And if you do love pay-to-win mechanics, let us know, and how rich your parents are.
Yeah, I got a PayPal for you if you really like giving people money.
Just take the credit card and shut up. Mom has a migraine.
Today's episode of Inside Gaming Daily is brought to you by Skillshare, because what are we, as gamers, doing on this planet if it's not to learn all the time? You learn new games, you learn how to excel on the battlefield, you learn how to get those trophies, learn how to get those achievements. You gotta be learning all the time. Keep your brain sharp, keep it young. That's what Skillshare can help you do. They have a ton of online courses for a variety of subjects to teach you something new today, and the setup's actually pretty good. So, being who I am, I took a class about bartending and cocktails. I already learned a ton, but it was pretty cool. There's like a question and answer thing on the side of every lesson, where if you have a question about what's presented, you can write it in, and then the teacher will come back and answer it. So not only do you have some really good courses by professionals in their field, but you can also interact with them directly, ask them questions, and learn even more. For instance, I learned that the little swizzle spoon, the other side's got a ball on one end and a little twisty thing, because that's how you do floaters. You just put it on the top, you pour it down the side, blah, 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 and then it just disperses over the top of your drink. I tried it once and it sunk to the bottom, but hey, you gotta practice, right? No one's gonna get it on the first try. You can get this on your first try though, a 2-month free trial to Skillshare. If you go to skl.sh/roosterteeth, you can get a 2-month free trial to Skillshare. And their entire library of amazing learning tools. Link in the description, skl.sh/roosterteeth for a 2-month free trial to Skillshare. Thank you, Skillshare, for sponsoring this video and teaching me how to almost pour a correct floater. I'm gonna get there soon, I promise. Nightmare of We'd Leave Skins and Dab emotes. God bless Call of Duty, I love it so much.
Flossing.
I mean, the first headlines are good because that's how PR works. They're gonna hit you with the good stuff first, get that sweet taste in your mouth before they sneak in the medicine. So it's releasing October 25th. We got a look at the first trailer for the game, showing off some tactical shooting action in gritty urban settings. So, you know,